From South Carolina Public Radio, this is the South Carolina Lede. I'm your host, Gavin Jackson, and this episode was recorded on May 27th, 2025 from South Carolina Public Radio Studios here in Columbia. On this episode of The Lede, lawmakers returned to Columbia on Wednesday to take up the $14.7 billion state budget for the coming fiscal year. State Democrats have a big week with their convention and major events featuring two prominent voices in the party. We talk with MUSC President Dr. David Cole about the health challenges our state faces and how the school is working to address them. And knock knock, hurricane season is almost here, folks, and it's set to be an active one. And we bring you one of the voices collected for our Mother Emanuel Remembrance Initiative. We also have some big news we want you guys to know about. That we have a live lead taping in Aiken at Good Girl Brewing on June 12th at 6 p.m. with myself, reporter Mayan Schechter, and special guest, Senate Majority Leader Shane Massey. So put it on your calendar, June 12th at 6 p.m., Good Girl Brewing in Aiken. We have the Evite on southcarolinapublicradio.org. Just go there. You'll see my face. You click on the face. You hit RSVP. It's free, but we want you to RSVP. And we'll see you in Aiken on June 12th at 6 p.m. at Good Girl Brewing. If you can't make it to Aiken, give us a call and tell us why. You need a doctor's note if you can't make it. 803-563-7169. Also, where would you like to see us go this year? We have some live taping ideas. We'd love to come to your neck of the woods. But if you don't want to talk about live lead tapings, talk to us about what else is on your mind. It's the unofficial official start of summer. How was your Memorial Day weekend? What's on tap this summer? 803-563-7169. All right, let's look at what's on tap this week in the State House. I know it's post-sine die, but lawmakers will be in Wednesday to vote on the budget. The governor will have a ceremonial bill signing for the tort reform bill in the State House on Wednesday for all my torties. Up in Congress? Well, we're not in Congress because they're on recess this week, which is why Congressman Jim Clyburn is holding a town hall this evening, and Senator Lindsey Graham is bopping around the state as well. But again, lawmakers return to Columbia on Wednesday to vote on the $14.7 billion budget to send it off to the governor ahead of the new fiscal year that starts July 1st. Now, we talked about the budget compromise in our previous episode, so I won't rehash it all here.
Okay.
But with an additional $1 billion in tax revenue to budget with, and again, not all of it is being used, lawmakers on the Budget Conference Committee were able to quickly come to a compromise agreement on the final budget that will go before both chambers on Wednesday. Now, some folks, specifically those in the far-right House Freedom Caucus, have derided this process and the additional money with claims that don't quite hold up, such as this money was miraculously found. Well, it was collected in your taxes that were just filed in many cases and certified by the Board of Economic Advisors, which met last week. So this is how money shakes out this late in the budget process. Also, there are claims of this money going to pet projects, which couldn't be more inaccurate this year because earmarks were terminated this year, remember? No pork. A lot of folks, both Democrats and Republicans, were bummed about that because they like to bring home some projects to their districts, but no pork this year. I swear I won't say pork anymore this year. And now, with the legislative session officially over, the campaign season continues to heat up. This week, there will be more announcements and events taking place. I can't even speak about some of them, as well as the South Carolina Democratic Party's convention on Saturday here in Columbia. It comes after the Blue Palmetto fundraising dinner and Congressman Jim Clyburn's world-famous fish fry, both on Friday, featuring Maryland Governor Wes Moore and Minnesota Governor Tim Walz, who you will remember was the former 2024 vice presidential nominee. So some big names wide open in 2028. We will have coverage and updates for y'all on Saturday and next week's pod, so stay tuned. Next up, I recently sat down with the Medical University of South Carolina president, Dr. David Cole, to discuss the class of 2025 and the medical challenges they'll be tackling in our state, where a third of the 175 graduating medical students will stay for their residency training. And that's what I asked him about when I opened our conversation. Here's Dr. Cole.
We train the majority of physicians in the state of South Carolina. And training doesn't just stop at medical school, right? It's a graduate medical education portion of that. So our class in general matches well in the state of South Carolina. We focus on educating and training and retaining physicians who can serve the state.
I was going to say, when it comes to their residency, they have a greater chance of sticking around in the state, especially a place like South Carolina, which needs doctors, nurses, and everyone in between. So is the goal to really kind of maybe keep them around, show them that there's a lot to be had here in the state, whether it's in a variety of different medical fields, and then hope that they stick around to fill some of these voids?
The chance of you providing care as a physician in the state of South Carolina, 50-50. If you go to medical school here in South Carolina, any school in South Carolina, greater than 75% if you go to medical school and you finish your residency training here. And we've been leaning into that statistic. So physician shortage, which is very real, and by the way, South Carolina's on the short end of the stick of almost every health care provider statistic. So there's a national shortage, and we have less than adequate physicians, not only numbers game, but also maldistribution. So in downtown Charleston, I would say probably not so much. Many counties are without primary care physicians, OB, GYN, critical needs. So MUSC is a comprehensive academic health system, can recruit and train medical school students, graduate MD, but also have the ability to help shape and develop with partners graduate medical education. That's residency, that's fellowships, to finish the training so the physician can practice. Congratulations, when you get an MD, you have two things, 2 letters and $250,000 worth of debt, but you cannot practice. To be able to practice, you have to finish the entire pipeline. So unfortunately, the state of South Carolina is generally a net exporter of physicians, high quality physicians that get trained in all the medical schools across the state. And although the match, when you finish your MD, you match to your residency. It's a national match. But if you just look at the numbers, we have less GME slots than we need. Therefore, we're exporting doctors we need to retain.
GME slots?
Graduate medical education. Those are residency and fellowship slots.
Whether that's at a hospital around the state, whether that's an MUSC hospital, McLeod, something
anywhere.
State, yeah.
I'm speaking through a state lens.
Sure.
So we don't have enough residency positions in the right domains. So we've been focusing on trying to develop brand new critical needs residency programs in critical needs areas. Remember that statistic I was talking about, greater than 75% chance of staying if you finish your training there. So in our growth and presence across the state in our regional medical centers, we partnered with other health entities, other health systems to build new primary care residency programs in those communities.
Yeah, primary care is a huge factor because a lot of folks, even when they want to go outside of actually, once they graduate, from what I've been reading and seeing, is that, whether it's pediatrics or family medicine, talk about the short end of the stick, a lot of folks don't opt to go to those routes. They want more specialty training so they can, talk about that medical debt, try and cover that back. So how do you make that more attractive? I mean, does it have to be something where they get their education costs covered, or do you incentivize it in a different way? How do you get folks into those areas that aren't providing as much as an income later on in life?
So we've been trying, we have been creating a framework, creating the programs in the right places, creating the programs in the right domains. So I'll brag on our teams. In Florence and in Catawba in our Lancaster hospitals in the last 3 years, from concept to accreditation approval to matching successfully now 2 years in a row, a primary care program in Florence and this year in Catawba is pretty remarkable because, again, if we can recruit physicians into those training programs, there's a significant likelihood that they will stay in those programs. So I'll call it phase one. And by the way, when those programs are mature, we'll have probably 120 new training slots in critical needs areas in critical domains across the state that didn't exist before.
And that's part of the way of fixing this problem we're talking about here.
Last year, we had a discussion with legislative leadership and requested what we call the critical needs physician program. And basically that's recurring dollars that will, if you're a MUSC medical student, if you match in your residency in a high needs area, in a rural, underserved space, half your student debt is forgiven. And then the other half will be forgiven when you practice for 4 years in that community. So we're trying to get aligned incentives. We're trying to say, hey, we're trying to remove barriers, and get people to reconsider, reinvest as physicians and providers in communities. One of my basic thoughts has always been, whether it's physicians or nurses or technicians, if you have a heart for healthcare, in terms of that being your practice, you should have the opportunity to be trained and part of that community and deliver care for those you do care for. Another scholarship program, actually, we called it SC First Scholarships. And we asked for and actually received one-time dollars, $3 million from the state, and we said we'd match it, which we did, and we put that into an endowment. And the concept behind that is, scholarship is that if you're first in your generation as a South Carolinian to get into a graduate school in healthcare at MUSC, you're eligible for this full ride scholarship. We gave out 8 last year.
So just more ways to incentivize too. And Dr. Cole, when we're talking about the need for primary care and pediatrics, do you think that telehealth has made up that difference? Do you think that's what's kind of maybe eaten into a lot of that, or urgent care facilities? I mean, we look at stats like the Association of American Medical Colleges project that a shortage of 20,200 to 40,400 primary care doctors will exist by 2036. That's a gap there. We even see there's a shortage of some 3,000 physicians for South Carolina alone. So again, we're talking about telehealth and urgent care, but we still need those core folks there, those primary care doctors.
Every dimension of healthcare provider, physicians, nurses, techs, are in shortage as we speak, and will be in some level in crisis as we move into the future. This didn't occur in a day. I think we all have our own dimension or ownership of what that looks like, both as a nation, as a state, and providers, and schools, and so forth and so forth. So we're not going to dig ourselves out of it in a moment. My thoughts are that we have 3 dimensions we can lean into. One, for us in MUSC, we educate every dimension of healthcare provider. We need to educate the heck out of every quality student that we can, maximize our programs, identify where those needs are. 2, we need to partner creatively with other enterprises, other institutions. For example, technical schools across the state. In our regional divisions, we are partnering with those technical colleges to identify techs that we can provide guaranteed employment. Figure out how we can provide the educational faculty, if you will, to do this. Help get the pipeline aware that there's great jobs, in healthcare, if that's the domain in which you want to be. And I think the third one, which kind of gets to what your original question was, we really need to reimagine and start to deploy different care models. And how healthcare is being provided, I think, is ultimately going to be our best answer of how we can become more effective, maintain high quality, provide care where patients live.
Okay.
And somewhere in all that is telehealth. So telehealth is a great sort of lever. It allows you to be more effective and efficient, if you will, reducing distance, helping to provide access when you couldn't maybe have even accessed a healthcare facility and so forth. We have new layers, advanced practice providers. We have to really do, I think, a very thoughtful job of how do we enable people to work at the top of their education and to make that as the most effective and efficient for the patients. And another dimension, I'd have to say, the expectations of patients. We have to meet expectations, but at the same time, it can't be that we're patients are, I'm only going to see my one primary care doctor in 7 counties, on a Tuesday.
That was MUSC President Dr. David Cole speaking with me there on May 13th down in Charleston. You can find that full interview on youtube.com/South Carolina ETV. Next up, speaking of the Low Country, the Atlantic hurricane season officially kicks off on Sunday, June 1st, and goes through the end of November. Yes, I know. Now, right now, NOAA predicts a 30% chance of a near normal season, but a 60% chance of an above normal season. What does that mean? Well, the agency is forecasting a range of 13 to 19 total named storms, with 6 to 10 of those being forecast to become hurricanes, including 3 to 5 that will become major hurricanes. That's Cat 3 or above. Now, just because they're hurricanes doesn't mean they're going to come for us. They can go out to the middle of the Atlantic, what we call a fish storm. So yeah, here's hoping. We don't have to deal with too much severe weather this year, but well, this is based on NOAA having a 70% confidence in these ranges. So again, 3 to 5 major hurricanes. No one knows where they're going to go, but that's just kind of what we're looking at right now. So a bit of an active season forecast for hurricanes in the Atlantic. And you're saying, Gavin, what more can I do? What should I be doing? Well, I'm going to give you some tips here, especially for our transplants that are now living in coastal South Carolina. Even our inland folks, you can still be affected. Look at Hurricane Helene. So what you need to do, go to nhc.noaa.gov. That's where you get all your information about the latest on hurricane tracks and storm tracks and all the information that you can get from the official sources besides your trusted meteorologists. And go to scemd.org for more specific information as well as the 2025 Hurricane Guide, Know Your Zone, Turn Around, Don't Drown, etc., etc. And also, should there be a pending storm or should we be facing a storm and the aftermath of it, SCETV and South Carolina Public Radio will be bringing you all the information you need to know to stay updated and stay safe. So keep those dials set, folks. And on the way out, this is something you guys have heard me talk about at the top of the podcast, but I wanted to share this with you now. We know that the 10-year anniversary of the racially motivated shooting at Mother Emanuel AME Church is coming up on June 17th. And as a way to honor those 9 that we lost, SCETV is asking you to take part in Voices Collected. Share your stories and memories of that time with us by visiting scetv.org/Emanuel9. And to give you an idea of what we're talking about when I ask you about this, I want to share part of this story from Wiltris Felder. She's a 62-year-old high school teacher from Columbia who remembers a small but powerful moment in the aftermath of that tragedy.
My mother heard that Reverend Pinckney's funeral would be televised, and she wanted to see it to give respect. I realized the funeral was the same day as her car appointment at Jim Hudson. She wanted to cancel it so she could see it, but I told her I thought I could get it on my computer. She said okay, and we went to the appointment. Once she was settled, she gave me that look, meaning to get the computer going, which I did. I was worried that I wouldn't be able to do it, but I finally got it. I had the volume low, but you could hear the sound ever so softly. As they sang, I looked over and saw my mother's lips quivering. As her eyes teared up, I went to get some tissue. She dabbed her eyes and continued watching. There was a man sitting near us, and I think he could hear and realize what she was watching. He was white. He got up and gently touched my mother's shoulder and said, "I'm so sorry." She looked up at him and said, "Thank you." I thought, a woman who lived through seeing the Klan and having her father attacked by the Klan shared a moment with a man who probably never experienced any type of prejudice or harassment. He stood there for a moment or two with his hand on her shoulder. Then he gave her a final little pat, went back to his seat. I think it meant a lot to my mom because she talked about it years later to me and others.
That was Wiltris Felder. You can share your story with us by visiting scetv.org/Emanuel9. Welcome to the wind down section, our little break from the news. We're glad you're here, along with A.T. Shire, lead podcast producer.
Hello, everyone.
A.T., this is our chance to talk about things that are not necessarily the news. Maybe they're related, but it's our time to just be ourselves and just talk about things.
Thank goodness. I love that for us, Gavin. But sadly, we have no calls, which therefore means we have no prompts to get us going, which means that we just get to talk about what we want, which sometimes is awful stuff.
Yes, well, that's good. It's good and bad. To which I will say, we can talk about a certain email that I sent you the other day.
Yeah.
Relating to an article from the New York Times.
I have never felt so seen by the New York Times. Listeners of this show will know that Gavin asked, I think, the last 2 years what the word of the year would be, and mine was slop. And Gavin, what's the article title that you sent me?
So I get the New York Times newsletter, and I was scrolling through it, and I saw this headline, and I said, I know exactly who needs this.
A.T. Shire.
But the headline was Living the Slop Life.
Yeah, and you...
Slop videos, slop bowls, slop clothing holes.
Thank you.
When did we get so submerged in the slopified muck? A.T. Shire.
I have had a note on my phone to talk about the bowlification of America for a while now, and I think it does go back to Chipotle, okay, and the burrito bowl specifically, and really got the bowl idea into the zeitgeist. And now it's everywhere, you know, your Cavas, your what have yous, where you have an idea of a food thing that you like, and you just slam it into a bowl and suck it down as fast as you can in your too short lunch. And the idea of just the slopification of America is disgusting to me. And Gavin is just trying to trigger me for your enjoyment, listeners.
To be fair, I have inadvertently embraced the slopification of America with Gavin, Uncle G's feed bag.
The feed bag, yeah, that
I was already
different, though.
ahead of my time.
That was way different.
A true slop, if you will.
Yeah, that one is a
nutrient slop.
But it's different. Okay.
But so I guess you want me to just read this lead from this New York Times article so people understand?
Go ahead. Exactly what we're talking about when we're talking about slop.
May 19th by Emma Goldberg, Living the Slop Life in the Style section there. Mm-hmm. There is something about checking my phone recently that has felt like turning up at Stregonona's house for pasta. I show up hungry, bowl empty, and fork at the ready for a headline, a meme, or an Instagram reel. But then the servings do not stop. There are more and more of them. The posts like the pasta and the beloved children's book overflowing. The servings come from the ether, a bottomless well of mushy, purposeless, disassociated slop.
I think that purposeless is
Purposeless.
about the most apropos word you can have there. I also love the millennial dog whistle of Stregonona and her overflowing
Stregonona.
pasta pot. I'm going to buy Stregonona for Rena when she's old enough to read it. It's got too many words right now. But the idea of just like shutting your brain off and doom scrolling
your slop feed.
stepping up to the slop trough.
Welcome to Wall-E, folks. We've all seen this. We all knew it was coming.
Wall-E, it's somewhere, I always talk about this, they're pushing us somewhere between Wall-E and the Matrix, okay? Are we going to lose bones from our sedentary lifestyle? Yes. Are they going to harvest us and by them, I mean the machines, harvest us for power? They are. It's true.
But if you want the ad version, it's free.
Oh yeah, you pay up for the ad version. No, there's one line in there where they refer to Chipotle and Cava and all of those places as VC-funded millennial slop bowl establishments, and I really do feel that way. And they go on to talk about sheen or shine or however in the fast fashion and all that stuff. Like, these are things where I urge everyone that if you partake in these things. Is it fast? Is it cheap? Why is it fast? Why is it cheap? What are you doing? In the same way that I urge Caitlin to, when she uses a Mr. Clean Magic Eraser, I go like, think about what it's doing, and you're touching that with your skin, okay? Like,
well, put some gloves on, perhaps.
These are all things where you have to think about why it's so fast.
It's just overconsumption, fast fashion slop.
It's about quantity over quality.
I do love a bowl,
and more.
though.
I don't.
I love a Cava bowl, though.
You know what I like more than a burrito bowl? Is a burrito.
Well, some people don't want the carbs, or they don't want, they have the gluten.
I truly feel that is just something they've sold us to sell the bowls. And I think we're getting pushed to how far. And this goes hand in hand, Gavin. I sent you that link about the standing room only flights.
Yes.
Standing room only flights.
But it's only $45 to Miami.
I get that, Gavin, but picture yourself here, okay? Picture yourself in this future, all right? You're on your standing room only flight back from Cabo, okay? You're sandwiched between two drunk frat boys coming back from spring break. They are passed out, hanging from the ceiling, draping on you. When it's lunchtime, and they roll the shared trough from behind the seats in front of you.
If you're paying for it.
And spray the food in there for you to eat while you hang on your way back. Like,
if you're lucky, they'll have a trough.
I think this is
if you pay the
horrible.
extra $10 for the trough,
I think this is a horrible future we're all staring down the barrel
at. We also
at.
love the buffetification. They describe it here too. If we haven't been as concise, there's another description that this reporter uses, and it's slop is what we now call the uncanny stream of words and photos and videos that artificial intelligence spits out, images that are often close enough to our reality to be believed at first glance, but then set off a tiny alarm of unreality.
How much close enough is it going to be for us
before
we're so far away from what is real? I hate it. I don't care. I don't like to look at it.
I don't want it. I'm not for it. I don't want them taking my job.
I don't like to look at it. I'm going to try to keep my daughter away from it as long as possible.
Seriously.
Until
she's taught by an AI bot.
Oh my gosh. I can't wait for her robot teacher to tell me that Rena can't pay attention in school.
Also, she's going to be designated for the mines.
Yeah.
Sorry.
Send her to the
Rena's,
mines.
she's a careless one. She has to go to the mines.
She's long and skinny. She can reach those bloody diamonds down there.
Oh, maybe she could actually work above ground if she's long and skinny.
Gosh. And as a snob, and as a picky person,
Yes.
and as someone
Yes.
that is just probably, I don't know, very annoying to be around to most people.
What?
I would say just like, think about me a little bit here, okay? Think when you see something that seems so convenient and great, have just AT in the back of your mind going, no, that's a bunch of bull, okay?
don't
Think about that just
Sure
a little
about
bit
that?
harder. Yeah, you sure about that, bud?
Let
Okay.
AT be that voice in your head.
Please, thank you, folks. Sorry about this whole thing. I'm honestly sweating
It's
a little bit.
sponsored by Sweet Green, okay?
Yeah, Sweet Greens. Just pay Blue Apron and we'll just send you a box of food. Don't ask what's in it, okay? Just eat what's in the box.
I'm so hungry now.
God, Gavin. Say the outro so you go eat that.
Sponsored by Kava. No, it's okay, folks. Let us know. We got some hot takes for you right there. We'd love to hear what you all think about the slopification of America. I'll tell you one thing. We're not slop, right?
No, sir.
Okay.
Hey, no, sir.
God,
I came back in, folks. I came back. I said I was gone. I'm back. No,
that
sir.
was okay. We are grounded.
This is it. You're hearing the real truth here, brother.
We have our shoes off. We are touching grass.
Yeah.
You can do the same.
We brought it into the studio. Yeah, we're touching grass every episode. You can rest assured.
Mr. Jackson demands this, actually.
Yeah, he grazes.
Don't look at Mr. Jackson's feet, what's left of them. People can be like, oh my God, what's going on? You'll find out. 803-563-7169. We need to hear from you. We need you now, more than ever, before the bots get us. You can also stay up to date with the latest news at scetv.org and southcarolinapublicradio.org, and don't forget to support your local newspapers. The South Carolina Lede is a production of South Carolina Public Radio. Our producer is A.T. Shire. Amy Crouch is our supervising producer. Sean Birch is our executive producer. This podcast is produced with support from PRX and is made possible in part by a grant from the John S. and James L. Knight Foundation, as well as listener contributions to the ETV Endowment of South Carolina. For the South Carolina Lede, I'm Gavin Jackson. Be well, South Carolina. You're like, oh God, can I do this?
I really was looking for a press 3 to re-record, and it wasn't there, and I did so bad, dude. It was awful. I literally put the phone down and put my head in my hands. It was like, why are you like this? Why do you do things like this?